This is Volusia Today, a public information radio program brought to you by the County of Volusia. Here is your host, Kevin Captain.
Good morning and welcome to Volusia Today. I'm Kevin Captain, the county's Community Information Director. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning. Today I'm joined by my co-host Clayton Jackson. Volusia Today is made possible by our sponsors, the Daytona Beach International Airport, the Ocean Center, Volusia Recycles, and Votran Public Transportation. Good morning, Clayton.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. We have a great guest in the studio today. We have Ben Bartlett. He's the director of our county's Public Works Department. So we're going to talk all about Public Works today.
Sounds like a plan.
So starting off, Ben, first off, before we start talking about some of the impacts of Hurricane Ian, I was hoping first we could start off today's show with maybe speaking in general about public works. As you know, we have frequently many different divisions of county government on this show. We have community services, public protection, the Ocean Center, but environmental management, you name it. But when it comes to public works specifically and the services that your team provides to Volusia residents, I think, though not intentionally, some services are probably often overlooked until you don't have the services. So what are those divisions of Public Works? And tell us a little bit about those services that you provide.
Sure, Kevin. Good to be here today. Public Works provides a wide range of services to the citizens of Volusia County. We have 7 divisions within Public Works. We have our Road and Bridge division, which is out there maintaining the road network. We got about 1,000 miles of roads that the county maintains in addition to all the stormwater systems. Our engineering and construction group, that's the group that builds the roads, designs the roads, and also when other divisions and other departments need facilities constructed, they manage those projects as well. We have our traffic engineering division, which maintains all of the signals in Volusia County, excluding the signals in the city of Daytona Beach. We maintain the signals for all of the cities except Daytona, as well as the state signals on the state roads. We have our solid waste division, which runs the landfill on Tomoka Farms Road, as well as the transfer station over on 44. They're also responsible for managing the contract for the waste collection in the unincorporated portions of Volusia County. We have our mosquito control division, which is the East Volusia Mosquito Control District, which provides mosquito control services for the county. We have our coastal division, which maintains and manages the beach, all 40 plus miles of the beach, as well as beach access, coastal parks. And we also have our water resources and utilities division, which provides wastewater and utility services to certain portions.
So what's interesting, out of the 7 divisions you mentioned, every single one of those had an effect on the recovery and continue to have an effect on the response and recovery of Hurricane Ian.
Yeah. Obviously, our road and bridge folks get out there right as the winds let up, and they're out there clearing roads and removing trees and working to alleviate some of the flooding that's causing those roads to close. Our engineering construction group, they're primarily tasked with assessment. They're out there trying to get a handle on what was damaged, how much debris is out there, so we can get those numbers up to the state as quick as possible, so we can get those categories declared for disaster events, which brings in FEMA funding. Our signal guys are out there trying to get the signals up and running after a storm. Solid waste is huge right now, with all the debris and everything on the roads, and people, putting debris out in front of their homes. We got to make sure that the landfill is functioning as well as it can be, and making sure that people have a place that the garbage has a place to go, even after the storm.
For sure. We got to definitely talk trash here in just a little bit. Let me ask you, this has been my 5th storm, 5th hurricane, and being in Florida. I've heard that you mentioned in a previous press conference, you mentioned about a 100-year storm, what it brings. Then I've heard people say that it's a 500-year storm. I've even heard echoes of people saying it could be close to a 1,000-year storm. I mean, in your perspective, from a public works lens, what is it?
Well, a lot of the times you hear that 100-year storm, 500-year storm event thrown out. What a 100-year storm event really means is it's a 1% chance that you're going to get that level of a storm. For our area, a 100-year storm event over a 24-hour period is about 11 inches of rain, which is quite a bit of rain. Most of Volusia County saw at a minimum that amount of rain. Portions of Volusia County saw well over that amount, almost double, 21 inches in New Smyrna Beach. So what I like to equate it to is, we had a confluence of events. You can get a lot of rain and still, have some flooding. But what we had was really three things that happened. We had a really wet September, so the ground was saturated. The water levels were up already. Then we had the amount of rain we got in the storm, and then the storm also brought extremely high tides. And a lot of the areas on the east side of the county drain into, Spruce Creek, Tomoka River, various canals throughout the county that eventually drain to the ocean. And when those tides are up, it's like that water hits a wall and can't get out. I mean, the best metaphor I have for it is, if you got a standard bathtub in your house and you turn on the water and you let it run for 5, 6, 7, 24 hours, whatever, if the drain's working fine, the water might stage up a little bit in the tub, but it drains out. We've had the May of '09 storms. We had Tropical Storm Faye. That's kind of like running the water in the tub and then adding 2 or 3 garden hoses to it. The water will fill up in the tub. It's still draining out, but it might come out and flood your bathroom a little bit. Well, what we had is that kind of event plus the drain stopped. Plug that drain up, run 2 or 3 garden hoses, run the water in the tub, and maybe your whole house gets flooded. So that's kind of what we had in this kind of situation, and it really was a unique event in terms of just all the different factors that went into causing a lot of the flooding.
That's a good metaphor. It makes it a lot easier to understand. Good thing I don't have a bathtub in my house.
So Ben, well, obviously we're a beach community and a lot of citizens are concerned about the beach and the impacts that Ian had on it. So I heard someone say that Hurricane Ian actually brought us more damage than Hurricane Matthew, which basically rode alongside of the Atlantic coast. Is that true?
Yeah, so, I was here for Matthew, Irma, and although it wasn't quite the wind event that we had for Matthew in terms of high winds, the orientation of the storm and how it kind of moved through the county brought some really, like I mentioned before, really high tides and some wind in a certain direction that caused the ocean to come up and really start, beating down on the beach. We've lost some sand in some areas. The beach profile is depressed a little bit. Some of the water went over multiple seawalls along the beach and caused those seawalls to fail and really bad erosion that's affecting private property such as single-family homes, condos, and hotels. So, and then, county assets, beach ramps, beach walkovers, coastal parks. I mean, they took a pretty big hit, and the damage that we've seen is significant, and it's more than what we saw during Matthew.
So kind of circle back on that, do you have any idea of the number of damaged walkovers, piers, seawalls, or scene dudes? Yeah, so from a county asset standpoint, which is what Public Works is mainly concerned, I know there's multiple private properties that are damaged, and they're working through the process with our building department on those repairs. But from county assets, 91 of our beach walkover, of 140 beach walkovers, were damaged to the point we had to close them. Now, some sustained significant damage, some can be repaired and get back up quickly. We had 15 beach ramps that were significantly damaged to the point where we can't, allow vehicles through them right now. And we had 2 coastal parks damaged, Lighthouse Point Park and the Jetty took a pretty good hit. And as well as Frank Rendon Park, where the governor had his press conference, the seawall failed and a portion of the paver area along the seawall collapsed.
And let's talk about that for a minute, because that's I think it's important for our residents to know that, first of all, the coastal damage sustained from Ian is worse than what we've seen even with Matthew, like you said, and it encompasses all 47 miles of beach. And so the common question that we're being asked is, when is it going to be repaired? When are the walkovers going to be done? When is everything going to be opened? But there are so many different aspects to the repair and recovery. It's going to take some time. And even talking with you before, Ben, offline about, we've got a limited season, we've got permitting, we've got supply chain issues. Talk about some of those issues that are going to affect our ability to repair. And at the end, I think we're going to need everyone's patience.
Yeah, so first and foremost, we understand how important the beach is to our citizens as well as our economy. And so we have a great group of folks in Public Works in our coastal division, and they are working really hard to get access to that beach back up as soon as possible. I mean, we understand we have one of the most accessible beaches
For sure.
in the state of Florida,
It's the truth.
and it's really important. And so there's a multitude of factors that go into these repairs. Obviously, the severity of the damage. So what we're looking to do is, can we assess these areas? Can we make temporary repairs or repairs with our own staff as quick as possible to provide that access, whether it's a beach ramp or a beach walkover? And then some of those assets will require a full rebuild. Now, we're limited to what the work we can do on the sand in terms of we have to do that work from November 1 to May 1 to avoid turtle nesting season. But we also have to keep in mind that a lot of these repairs are eligible for reimbursement from FEMA. So we want to maximize that reimbursement to ensure to lessen the impact to the taxpayers of Volusia County. And there's a process that takes. It's timely. Even the temporary repairs, we have to make sure that FEMA comes out and looks at these facilities before we make the temporary repairs so they can see what the damage was like. We take pictures. Our coastal folks go out and take pictures before a storm to show exactly
Sure.
what those assets look like before the storm and then after. And so they're very good at that. And we want to make sure that we're doing everything possible, whether it's through the temporary repairs or the permanent repairs, that allows us for maximum reimbursement from FEMA, because that reduces the burden on the taxpayers of Volusia County.
And then you got, like we even mentioned, even supply chain issues too. We're still
Yeah, I mean,
experiencing.
before the storm, there were, construction was running pretty hot and heavy, and then obviously the massive amount of damage sustained in Southwest Florida and all the damage that we have is going to put a strain on that.
We're talking with Ben Bartlett. He's the director of the county's Department of Public Works. We're talking about the effects from Hurricane Ian. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about Public Works. Stay with us.
Hello, Tom Cisco coming to you from the Volusia County Emergency Operations Center. Severe wind damage and flooding can be expected with any tropical cyclone. It is important that you have a plan and know how to execute it in the event of severe weather. If you live in an evacuation zone, make sure you secure your home and head for safety. Keep fresh batteries in your NOAA weather radio in the event the power goes out. And download our free emergency management app from any smart device.
Volusia County is a beautiful place to live, but if
we don't respect it, who will?
Litter is a problem, one that we can solve.
But it's going to take all of us working together.
What matters is that we all do our part.
Don't be a litter bug.
And pick up litter whenever you see it.
Every litter bit counts.
Keep Volusia beautiful.
We're back. I'm Clayton Jackson, along with Kevin Captain, and you're listening to Volusia Today, a public information program brought to you by the County of Volusia. So again, we're speaking to Ben Bartlett, our Public Works Director for the County of Volusia. And Ben, let's talk a little bit about roads and bridges. There are a lot of bridges, a lot of roads in the county, but contrary to popular belief, the county doesn't actually own or maintain every road and bridge within the county. So could you elaborate a little bit about the ownership and who's responsible for the maintenance and repairs?
Sure. I mean, when you look at the road network in any area of the country, specifically Volusia County, it's a tiered system. So you have your interstates, which are funded primarily by the federal government, but they're maintained by the state. And then you have your state road network, which links counties to counties, and then within the county maintains the roads in the unincorporated areas outside the cities, obviously, but also the thoroughfare road network, which is your major arterial and collector roads that link cities together.
And there's still some water over some of those roads, correct? And what's your message to residents that approach roads that have water over them?
Well, after the storm, we had a lot of water over the roads, and thankfully a large portion of that water is receded. However, in portions along the St. Johns River, we do have some roads that still remain inundated with water, and you know, you just got to be careful going through high water on a road, because you know, if it's flowing at all, I mean, your car can get stuck. You know, it's better to find an alternate route than to attempt to go through the high water.
And even coming up this weekend, we've got a lot of bikes in town. We've got Biketoberfest, and we know it's more of a localized event, so you know, a lot of our residents partake in that. And we've got the historic loop, but you mentioned earlier the tidal influences. There could still be flooding up in the loop.
Correct. You know, we're still seeing some high tide situations, and we've got some roads along the loop, Walter Boardman, High Bridge, Beach Street, Old Dixie, that when the tide's up at certain times of day, there can be a little bit of water on the road, and you know, folks on motorcycles and things like that that are out riding, they need to be careful when they see that.
And Ben, I want to circle back real quick about bridges, because we had a lot of inquiries about when is a bridge closed, when do they open back up when a hurricane comes. So could you just elaborate a little bit about that?
Sure. So, you know, there's quite a few bridges that go over the Halifax River along that link the beach side to the mainland. Volusia County has a few of those bridges. The state maintains most of them, but typically when the sustained winds exceed 39 miles an hour, those bridges get closed to everything but emergency service traffic. And then post-storm, once the winds recede, the DOT and ourselves, we're out inspecting those bridges for damage and coordinating with law enforcement on reopening them. But you know, it's important to make sure that those bridges didn't sustain any damage that, you know, could cause you know, an issue for the motorists. So we want to make sure that that gets cleared before we open it up.
For sure, no doubt. So Ben, let's talk trash for a minute. We know that Ian is a different kind of storm compared to the other ones we've talked about. And it's different also in terms of debris pickup, trash, and everything. How is it different? Tell us.
Well, in the past, you know, whether it's Matthew, Irma, we've had mostly vegetative debris, high wind situations, blowing down trees. Trees get cut up, they get placed out in the road. We've gotten I want to say we've gotten pretty good at picking up that vegetative debris, and the citizens have gotten pretty well trained in how to deal with it and cut it and put it up neat piles out on the street for pickup. This particular storm with the flooding, we expect to see a significant amount of construction and demolition debris, or C&D. And so that's a whole different animal. It can come out, unlike the vegetative debris, it can come out over a long period of time as people work with their insurance companies or get contractors or whatever they're doing. That debris can come out. So it's important that folks separate that debris into unique piles. Your community information staff has put out some good information on how we'd like to see that separated. Volusia County picks up debris on county roads. Cities pick up debris on city roads. So it's important that you understand as a resident, you know, are you in the city? Are you in the county?
Right.
And go to your local municipality's information regarding debris pickup and understand what the expectation is, because, you know, a big thing is people like to bag vegetative debris and put it in the debris pile. They won't pick up bagged debris in the vegetative piles.
Because the bags jam up the machines, right?
Yeah, I mean, we reduce the vegetative debris. It doesn't go to the landfill. It goes to what we call a debris management site, where it's either mulched or burned, and you can't burn or mulch plastic bags.
You know, and speaking of the debris, you bring up a good point where it depends on where you live. And some people might not necessarily know that who their trash hauler is. And so what we try to do right now after a storm is update our PIN page. So at volusia.org/PIN, any resident can go to the area, the city where they live in, to figure out, you know, what the debris pickup is. And as you say, vegetative's got to be kept separate from construction and demolition, or C&D. The other question that we're hearing is, when are they going to come around to my block, and when are they going to get to my block?
Well, we started picking up debris last Wednesday. So we started pretty quick. I mean, that's less than a week after the storm. And
it's remarkable.
Yeah. We have a good contractor on board that's getting out there and getting that debris picked up. We focused, knowing that Biketoberfest was going on, we focused on some of the areas that motorcycle, you know, that event and the people that attend that event frequent, because, you know, it presents a safety hazard.
Sure.
And then, so that was the initial push in some of those areas. And then we're spreading out countywide to get that as quickly as possible.
And Ben, we're hearing some communities are saying that they're unable to use their water drains, such as toilets, and obviously they're not able to go to the bathroom. But we heard that the county has brought portalets to those affected neighborhoods. So can you give us an idea of what's going on in those communities?
Yeah, I mean, we're speaking mainly to areas along the St. Johns River, and when the water stages up and inundates the roads and those neighborhoods, the collection system, the wastewater collection system becomes inundated with essentially river. And in Florida, because we don't have topography, and everything can't flow by gravity, we have a series of pump stations that pump that wastewater to the wastewater plant. So when that collection system becomes inundated, it's not going to function properly, whether the pump station's running or not, and because it's completely full of river water. So those folks in some of those neighborhoods are unable to use the wastewater system. We've done our best to put portalets out there, and if the roads are flooded, we put roll-off dumpster bins so that the trash can be put in there and be picked up. So we're trying to make every accommodation we can for those folks. I know it's a tough situation, and the water has to recede before we can get those services back up.
Well, the distinction there too is that if you were to pump it and to continue to pump the wastewater, you would essentially be pumping the stormwater, the river, back to the wastewater plant, right?
Correct. So if you're pumping an inundated collection system like that, you're essentially pumping river water to the wastewater plant and continuously, which wastewater plants are designed for a certain amount of flow, and so you'd really be causing an issue at those plants by doing that, and you wouldn't be helping the folks in those inundated areas because the collection system would remain full of river water whether you're pumping or not. There's just so much water sitting on top of that.
For sure. I mean, with that issue, with the debris pickup, with the coastal damage, really all of the components we're talking about today with Public Works, the biggest thing is we need to ask for everyone's patience.
Yeah. I mean, this was a storm unlike we've ever seen, and it sustained a lot of damage, a lot of flooding, and a lot of people are hurting, but we really need patience with a lot of these things, and we're working as fast as possible. We got a good team behind us, and we'll get it done.
Talking with Ben Bartlett, he's the Director of Public Works for Volusia County. We'll take our last break and come back and finish up Volusia Today. Stay with us.
You can access Volusia County government online at volusia.org. Listen to county council meetings, pay for permits or tags, or search the property appraisers' databases. Volusia.org is your Volusia County government information resource.
Welcome back. I'm Clayton Jackson along with Kevin Captain, and you're listening to Volusia Today, a public information program brought to you by the County of Volusia. And before we kick it back to Ben and Kevin, I just want to let the citizens know that if you have been impacted by Hurricane Ian, there is assistance out there available. Obviously, you could go to disasterassistance.gov, or the County of Volusia, in partnership with FEMA, local, and other state partners, we have a disaster recovery center located at the Daytona Beach Health Department, and that is at 1845 Holzenbach Drive in Daytona Beach. And in addition to FEMA at that location, there are about half dozen other social service agencies, local and state partners, that are there to provide provide assistance. So we just want to make sure that assistance is available, that you know about assistance. And again, as Kevin said earlier, please make sure to visit volusia.org/PIN, and that's PIN. And as more additional resources become available, we will publish that and make sure the citizens are aware of what is available.
And thanks, Clay, for that. That's important for residents to know as well, too. And for those that have applied for individual assistance for FEMA, if you do get denied, a lot of times it's just because you're missing some information, and that DRC is there to help you fill in the gaps of the information. And even if you still get denied, the Small Business Administration is there on site to help people, and it's not just for businesses, it's also for individuals.
Exactly. That's a misconception when they hear Small Business Administration. It's actually open to individual residents as well. For
sure. Well, in our last minute and a half, Ben, I know it's been, for you and your entire team, all of Public Works, you guys have been working around the clock. I mean, I got to say, within 4 days, just FPL and Duke alone putting all the power back to 90-some percent of people is nothing short of a miracle, really. And you guys have been playing a huge part of that. Have you had any time off?
Yeah, I mean, like all of our Public Works staff, we worked obviously pre-storm for preparation, and then post-storm, worked really hard for probably 2 weeks. Most of them didn't
nonstop
take a day off, and so they were we had power crews embedded with our guys clearing the roads and everything like that. So we help them out, they help us out. It's a big part of getting those services back to everybody. And I can't say enough about the team we have at Public Works. They're just some of them sustained damage in their own homes,
right?
And they were out there working during the day, and at night ripping carpet out of their house because they flood, and so we've got a good group of people dedicated, and they're Volusia County residents themselves, and some of them are hurting as well, but they're out there working hard to try to get us back to normal and everybody back up and running.
Ben, thanks so much for being on the show today. Thanks for everyone in the Department of Public Works and everyone in Public Works throughout our cities and municipalities as well. It makes a big difference.
Thank you.
With that, we'll close Volusia Today. Take care, stay safe, and help your neighbors.
If you have a comment about Volusia Today, or if there is a topic you would like to hear featured, please contact Volusia County Community Information at 1-866-345-0345.